The first sign wasn't a scream. It was silence. A man walked through a crowded medieval street, and the sound around him thinned. Mothers drew their children closer. Merchants lowered their eyes. A woman whispered a prayer. And the man kept walking, head bowed, aware that no one dared come within arm's length of him. He was not a murderer. He was not sick. He was not even poor. He was cursed. In the Middle Ages, a curse wasn't a fantasy. It was a sentence, as real to society as chains. A single rumour, a strange birthmark, a dead animal found by your door, and your life could unravel overnight. Some people in the medieval world weren't just feared, they were doomed by the beliefs of everyone around them. These are the lives no one today would survive. There were the marked ones, the children born under black stars. Chronicles describe them with unsettling precision. A baby born during an eclipse, one born with a veil over its face, others with a streak of white hair, or one eye paler than the other. No matter how healthy they were, no matter how loved, the whisper spread. This child carries a shadow. Families hid them indoors. Priests watched them too closely. And as they grew, the prophecy grew with them. If a neighbour's cow died, the marked one was blamed. If lightning struck a barn, the marked one was blamed. If a soldier returned from war with nightmares, the marked one was blamed. It didn't matter that none of it made sense. In a world with few explanations, fear filled the gaps. Some fled to monasteries to escape suspicion. Others simply vanished from records, as if swallowed by the very fate they were accused of carrying. Then came the outcasts of the sin-eaters. Sin-eating was a practice almost too strange to believe. When someone died, a loaf of bread was placed on their chest to absorb their sins. A sin-eater, usually a starving wanderer, was paid a few coins to consume the bread. They were believed to take the dead person's sins into themselves. It was a living damnation. Villagers needed them, but they despised them. Sin-eaters walked on the edges of settlements. Doors closed as they passed. Children ran inside. People avoided touching even the shadow they cast. If a crop failed, the sin-eater was blamed. If someone fell sick, the sin-eater was blamed. If a storm shattered rooftops, the sin-eater was blamed. Ironically, the ones believed to save souls were denied their own salvation. Some were refused burial when they died. A curse lived in their name. Other curses came from the earth itself. Grave robbers, the resurrection men of early medieval Europe, didn't steal riches. They stole bodies. Anatomy was forbidden. Doctors were desperate. And desperate doctors paid coin for illegal corpses. A man who dug up the dead was considered spiritually toxic, not because of the crime, but because disturbing the resting place of a soul was believed to unleash whatever clung to it. Some villagers believed grave robbers carried spirits home with them. Invisible passengers, restless ones. The men themselves reported strange nightmares, cold hands on their shoulders, distant voices calling from soil, something waiting in the dark. Whether these were curses or guilt, no one cared. Once someone was known to dig graves for money, their life was over. No woman would marry them. No priest would look at them. No friend would stay a friend. Their curse was isolation. And then came the executioners, the most feared men in Christendom. Executioners were necessary. Kings needed them. Courts depended on them. Justice required them, but no one wanted to stand beside one. Executioners lived outside town walls. Their children sat alone in church. Their hands, the same hands that held swords and ropes, were believed to be permanently unclean. People crossed themselves when an executioner walked past. Some spat on the ground to break the evil. Executioners married other outcasts, not by choice, but by survival. And when they died, Their tools were burned, as if the curse lived inside the iron. It didn't matter how loyal or skilled they were. Their fate was fixed. A cursed life traded for wages. Others didn't choose their curse at all. It was thrust upon them, the bearers of the plague mark. Medieval Europe had no understanding of bacteria, but it understood fear. Raw, instinctive, animal fear. A person with black swellings or a fevered stare could trigger panic instantly. Villagers barricaded doors. Gates slammed shut. Entire families were burned inside homes to stop the spread. Even those who simply nursed the sick, plague wardens, corpse handlers, burial crews, were marked permanently. No one wanted to touch someone who had touched death, not even years later. Medieval records describe survivors abandoned by communities, left to wander until monasteries took them in. To survive plague meant to carry a curse, but some curses weren't physical. Some were written, the excommunicated. When the church cut someone off, it wasn't symbolic. It was annihilation. An excommunicated person was believed to be spiritually dead. No sacraments, no burial, no salvation. Neighbors refused to speak to them. Merchants refused to trade with them. If someone died near them, they were blamed. Kings feared excommunication more than armies. For ordinary people, it was worse. It made them ghosts while still alive. Some wandered Europe seeking forgiveness. Others starved alone, untouched, avoided, unacknowledged. A curse applied by ink. There were also the wolf children, born with unusual hair, teeth, or behaviors that frightened parents. Doctors didn't exist for such things. Priests saw omens, villagers saw monsters. Even mild deformities invited whispers. Sent by demons. Born under a bad sign. Marked for darkness. Many of these children were abandoned at monasteries. Some were hidden away. Others were raised with caution, always watched for signs. A normal child could become a cursed adult simply through superstition. And then there were the oath breakers. Not criminals, the Hamsun. That was simple. But people accused of breaking sacred vows. A vow in the Middle Ages wasn't a promise. It was a binding spiritual contract. Break it, and the curse followed you. Knights accused of desertion. Widows accused of improper mourning. Monks accused of speaking to women. Priests accused of drinking too much wine. Men accused of abandoning their fathers. These oath breakers lived in a perpetual state of suspicion. People believed misfortune clung to them. A town's well drying up, the oath breaker caused it. A child falling sick, the oath breaker cursed the house. A failed harvest, the oath breaker angered God. It didn't matter whether they were innocent. The accusation alone was enough. In medieval Europe, guilt wasn't proven. It was assigned. But among all the cursed, one group carried the heaviest burden of all: the living dead. Some medieval communities believed certain people couldn't die properly. Their souls wandered, their bodies were restless, their spirits returned. These weren't ghosts. These were revenants, physical beings, feared more than demons. A person who died after committing a taboo, or being wrongly buried, or dying violently, or with unfinished business, might rise again. Villagers reported hearing footsteps outside at night, clawing at windows, voices calling from the dark. Whether these were wolves or wind didn't matter. Someone was blamed. Graves were reopened. Bodies mutilated to stop the curse. Entire families treated as contaminated. To be related to a revenant was to inherit the curse yourself. The Middle Ages were filled with dangers, war, disease, famine. But curses were different. Curses were invisible. A person could wake up one day, ordinary, and by nightfall become someone no one touched. no one trusted, no one saw as fully human. The cursed were not victims of magic, they were victims of belief. Belief strong enough to reshape a life, belief strong enough to exile, belief strong enough to destroy, and belief strong enough to endure centuries. In a world ruled by fear, ignorance, and shadows, there were people who carried curses they never earned. People whose stories were buried under superstition. People who lived and died under a darkness cast by others. The medieval world feared demons, but its greatest horrors were the curses humans gave each other. This is Hidden by Time, and if you want more forgotten stories buried in the dark, subscribe to the channel and explore the other videos waiting for you just beyond this one.